Welcome back to the Red Stool. And today we're talking about My Hero Academia, chapter 354, Here. So we start this battle back at Gunga Mountain with Endeavor, Hawks, All for One. They're still going back and forth, and things are getting pretty heated. Not in just the sense that, Endeavor's on the battlefield, but All for One, I mean, he's had a lot to say about Endeavor as a parent and a hero over the past couple chapters, really. A little too much for my liking personally. He wouldn't be talking about me like that, but that's just me. However, he just keeps giving Endeavor these light jabs about him being a parent, the situation with Dabi and Todoroki. And I like how Hawks isn't just there to help him beat All for One physically. He's kind of serving as an emotional balance and support because, of course, he's keeping Endeavor in check almost with his emotions, because we know that Endeavor's power, it goes a lot off of his emotional state. And if he's feeling defeated, we've seen his flames completely extinguished when he was fighting Dabi, versus if he gets too hot-headed or angry, they'll burn out of control. Ironically, that's another parallel with his son Dabi, and I like how that's a part of their quirk almost. It's not really mentioned too much, but their firepower heavily depends on their emotional state, and I know for a fact that All for One has to know that too, because the way he just keeps jabbing away at Endeavor just to provoke him. And I like how Hawks, he's like, hey, ignore him, keep your head level. We only have one goal here, and that's to stop him. That's it. That's all you have to worry about. Don't worry about anything from your past. And of course, Hawks is able to do this because he's more so, I want to say he's not as open and receptive to people. He has the ability to close off his heart to others and their situation just because of his upbringing. And it just goes hand in hand with the job that he has with the safety committee in being the guy that has to do their dirty work. So he's got a really good handle on his emotions, and he's just there to help keep Endeavor balanced out. Now, their plan to stop All for One is to destroy his helmet, which is actively giving him life support. Now, we know that, over the past, of course, whenever we've seen him out, he always has a helmet on, and they're saying that that's his one major weakness, because even when he left Tartarus, he kept the life support machine with him. So their plan is to get in, destroy his helmet, and then destroy his body. Now, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this. I think they should have tried to take a different approach, like maybe building him a cage like they built Shigaraki, something like that. Or even just dealing with him first with Erasure, then taking him out, because he has to know that that's his only weakness too. Hence why he has this new helmet that's super upgraded. It has the shoulder pads and the spines, and it's going to take even his base form of the helmet. He took a punch from All Might, and it didn't completely destroy it. So they're going to need a lot of power to eradicate this helmet. I don't like the plan, but I guess they're giving it their best shot. They're also leaning on the fact that his body isn't as strong as Shigaraki's. Now, the only other problem they have is, at the end of the day, All for One still has a healing factor, and they don't. So any sort of mistakes that they make in this battle are fatal. And of course, they address that in the chapter where they're like, hey, he can really one-shot us at any given time. That's why they're trying to keep him off the ground, so he can't use his shockwave attacks to just cause mass destruction and chaos amongst the battlefield, which I feel like they have some smart approaches. But if I'm being honest, I think the person that they should have had on this battlefield should have been Lemillion as well, just because he can slip and phase through any sort of offense that All for One has and directly attack his helmet. That would have made more sense in my opinion. Maybe they're saving Lemillion for something later on. Maybe he's going to come in as backup or support. And of course, we also have to take in consideration Hawk's current state. His wings, he's using support items to help him fly, plus the katanas instead of his feathers, because he still hasn't completely recovered from that fight he had with Dabi. And Recovery Girl, she's probably pushed too far past her limit, especially since she's already old as is, that she couldn't even bring him back to full power to be here to, just kind of overwhelm All For One with his speed while Endeavor tries to overwhelm him with his firepower. So they're making do with what they have. But as from a writing standpoint, I really like that Horikoshi does things like that, because it shows us that these battles have consequences long term, and it just gives everything more depth and stakes, because it's not, oh, I can fight my heart out today and go through some quick recovery program and come back and fight my heart out the next day. I like how it takes the heroes time to recover. They end up with scars. They end up with, some of their bodies being mutilated or personally damaged, like Aizawa. So I really like how that has carried true throughout the series and still matters even as we're nearing the end of it. So on the battlefield, fight-wise, I have to say for the moment, they're all neck and neck, dead even. All For One is countering the heroes are countering them. He's throwing up an air pressure wall just to insulate himself from Endeavor's flames. Plus he has this, I'm not sure what type of fluid it is, but he's using it to block Hawks' katana strikes at him, because of course Hawks is trying to target that helmet, but he's only going to get that one-off sneak attack once. And now that All For One is onto you, he's not going to allow it to happen again, which he doesn't. So I like how in this stalemate where they kind of reach it, All For One goes right back into his bag of dirty tricks, and he just goes at Endeavor's heart, looks him in his eyes and says, the reason you never recovered Toya's body is because I did. And it's like the moment that they have in their chapter, Endeavor's face, Hawk's face, like even Hawks has acknowledged that, okay, this isn't just, that's not a statement that you can just ignore. He's gonna respond to it emotionally. And I think it's just perfect. It's so on brand for All For One as a villain. He's just such a bully, like emotionally as well. He knows just what to say to you. It's gonna rip you apart, take your head out of the game, and give him that opening he needs. Because of course, Endeavor flies into a rage after that. Because do you know how life-changing that could have been if he was able to recover Toya's body? Maybe things wouldn't be the way they are now. So he flies into this rage and attacks All For One. Of course, All For One dodges it, and he uses that mutation quirk he has. Either rips Endeavor's arm off, a chunk out of his shoulder. Either or, I'm not sure, but I think Horikoshi has some weird fetish for mutilating Endeavor. First it was his eye, then there's everything that Shigaraki did to him, and now he's getting chunks just ripped out of his body. It's almost sad to see, because he doesn't deserve that. But in All For One, he makes the opening, he capitalizes on it, and you gotta respect it. The Demon Lord, he's gonna go for the low blow. And even if you think you're prepared for it, you're not, because he always just has that next level nasty scheme that he's gonna pull out of his pocket. And I love how they make that reference to All Might at the Kamino Award, when of course he told him that Shigaraki was his teacher's grandson, and congratulations, you've worked so hard in beating up your master's grandkid, and just use that to get into his head, take him off his game. I love it, and I love the way this fight is going, because of course the minute that Endeavor is reeling from having a part of his body almost eaten, he immediately sets his sights on Hawk with the opportunity. Hawks, of course, he's trying to get in one more time, push him up so Endeavor can just use a prominence burn, but he's also put himself in range of the shockwave attack. And of course, he's like, you can't dodge it at this range. You're not fast enough to get out of the way. It's kind of like almost like he pulls off this checkmate. But thankfully, the kids at 1A, of course, they pop up where they're not supposed to be and save the day. It's just what they do. It's how Class 1A rolls. I like how even now they're still doing that. And it's Jiro and Tokoyami. They're kind of teaming up. Tokoyami, he's flying her up there. Jiro's on his back. And she uses her heartbeat resonance wall to just block some of that shockwave attack that could very well have taken Hawks out of this fight, maybe even killed him. Who knows? But I like it. They're there. And of course, Hawks, he's looking at Tokoyami like, what are you doing here? You could get hurt. Like this isn't where you belong. And this isn't the first time that Tokoyami has gone out of his way to save Hawks, pull him out of the fire. I like how they had that relationship where they're like really close, even though Hawks looked down at Tokoyami from the beginning and kind of viewed him as a pawn just to get a inside look as to what's going on in UA, but that's actually changed and developed into a relationship over time. I like that. And it's just these little moments of Tokoyami being so loyal that he doesn't care. If Hawks is in danger, he's going to be there to help out his teacher. It's just what he does, is what the kids in Class at 1A do. And I think at this point, we have to give Class 1A kids, even the Class 1B kids that are out there on these battlefields, the respect that they deserve as pro heroes, because they're all licensed. They've been fighting these villains since they've started high school. So since 9th grade. So their learning curve has been intense, crazy, and honestly, they're more than ready to handle the job. So we're going to have to respect them like the pros that they are. And to end the chapter, I just like how Horikoshi gives Jiro the moment where she's telling All For One, hey, it's a little bit too early for you to be making these statements as if you've won. And even though she's a side character, I would have never expected her to have a moment like this within this war arc. And I just like it. It's just a good, almost full page spread of her just, kind of telling All For One off. And it's a direct contrast between how the kids used to be absolutely terrified of this guy to now they're ready to stand up and fight him because it's what they have to do. It's their job as heroes. I really like that. Giving Jiro that moment, taking your time out to highlight a smaller character. It's just little parts like that that help the story shine overall. And personally, I've really enjoyed this chapter. We don't have a break next week, thankfully, and I'm definitely looking to see just how Endeavor is going to respond. Is he going to cool down now that he has this part of his body ripped out, or is he actually missing his arm now too? A lot of questions to be had here, and I like how even though Jiro, Tokoyami, they've inserted themselves in here, it doesn't feel like, oh, now the heroes are definitely going to win. It's over for All For One. I definitely feel like it's still more so leaning in his favor, and he probably has a couple of more tricks up his sleeve. We all saw that little glowing ball in Dabi's chest last week. Who knows what that's going to turn into? But as always, these are my opinions. Please let me know yours in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share to your friends. Follow me on all social at DatBoyBestBoy. I'll see y'all later, all right? Peace.